As an addendum to my main segment over at youtube.com/Timcast, I wanted to highlight some of the stories I didn't get to, notably this. Thousands of Cubans and Latinos for Trump hold a massive anti-communist caravan in Miami to liberate the U.S. from socialist ideology. As NBC poll finds, Florida's Hispanic community is split between the two nominees. And the funny thing about this is that I was told that anti-communism was white supremacist. So are these Latinos for Trump white supremacists? Well, I'd be willing to bet the left will say, yes, they are, because apparently race has nothing to do with it anymore and whiteness means something nebulous. I think the whole idea, the reason the left is embracing this concept of whiteness is because they realize the racism card isn't working anymore. The Democrats relied on the idea of racism to get votes. And now that it's just not really that powerful anymore because, look, they kind of won. They have to change it. So now white isn't about the color of your skin. It's a concept called whiteness. And thus, thousands of Cubans and Latinos who don't like communism will probably be called white supremacists. Let's read the story. They say, thousands of Cubans, Venezuelans, and other conservative Latinos convened in Miami to attend an anti-communist caravan, flying flags in support of Trump. The parade, called the Anti-Communist Caravan of Freedom and Democracy, convened at the Magic City Casino on Saturday morning. Various reports estimate somewhere between 20,000 to 30,000 cars in attendance for the caravan. Demonstrators had flags for Trump's re-election, along with Cuban flags and other countries' flags. Several people sported huge blow-ups of Trump's face, waving signs that slammed the supposed increase of communist ideology in the country. Now, on the surface, it looks just like one of these old Trump parades, a peaceful protest and a peaceful protest done right. But this one's special. This one's anti-communist. The reason this is significant is that the far left has been increasingly embracing communist, socialist, and far left ideology. Many of the people that are in Florida that have immigrated to this country, come from places like Venezuela or Cuba, where socialism, far leftism, communism have destroyed their way of life and caused them to flee. Now imagine, if you would, you're in a despotic nightmare dystopia and you flee and escape, only to come to a country where they are starting to show signs of a nightmarish despotic dystopia emerging. Yeah, you'd probably protest against that too. So my respect to these people for standing up for America. They say no to socialism and communism, one sign read, while a number of protesters expressed similar sentiments in Spanish. A number of cars had passengers holding Latinos for Trump signs as they sped along. Several cars also had thin blue line flags in support of law enforcement. In some cases, vehicles appeared packed with people inside who were excited to take part in the festivities. An NBC Marist poll of Florida voters, released last month found Latinos in the state about evenly divided between former Vice President Joe Biden and Trump. A major change from the same poll in 2016 when Democrat Hillary Clinton led Trump by 59% to 36%. Donald Trump cannot lose, at least Florida. I've done the numbers. Maybe the numbers are all wrong. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'll just say it anyway. How could he possibly lose? There was a chart called Swing the Election by NBC where you could change slider bars to increase the amount of votes from certain demographics. If Donald Trump received, I think it was something like 18% more from Hispanic voters in the U.S., he would win if nothing else changed. If he gets, I think, 3% more of the black vote and 5% of the Hispanic vote, he wins. You mean to tell me in Florida, Hillary Clinton led Trump by 59% to 36%, and now Trump has evened the playing field? Come on, man. Tell me Trump's going to lose. I won't believe it. Sorry. You can show me all the polls in the world. We can see these people love Trump. This is hilarious. But a Monmouth University poll also conducted last month found Biden well ahead of Trump. You see, this is why the polls don't mean anything. Why should I believe any one of these polls for or against Trump? And that's why I'm always critical of even polls that make Trump look good. Like there's this poll going around from Gallup that says people are say they're better off now than 4 years ago. And I'm like, I know it's great for Trump. Why should I believe it? There's other signs that Trump is going to win. And massive parades of Hispanic voters isn't the only sign. But let me tell you this. If you're going to come out with a Monmouth poll saying that Trump is doing worse than Biden and worse now than in 2016, I'm sorry, man. I just don't believe it. You mean to tell me that after 4 years of record low unemployment rates for all of these different communities, Trump is doing worse? Nah. Especially with the rise of the far left. We've had 4 years of insane far left BS. And you think these Cuban and Venezuelans are going to be like, I'm okay with this. I won't do anything. And you mean to tell me that with these massive rallies, people driving their cars through the streets, you mean to tell me that Trump is doing worse? We didn't have this back in 2016, 2015. Nah, man. I'll tell you what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people are stepping up and rising up, and they're going to vote for Trump. But I got to be honest. I got to show you this opinion piece from Town Hall. You see, in my main channel segment, as I mentioned, this is an addendum. They said Trump is going to win, and here's why. Well, Town Hall, being the fair and balanced outlet, says signs that Trump isn't going to win on November 3rd. This is from Kevin McCullough, and you really need to hear this one, Trump supporters. It's a strong and stern wake-up call. He goes on to say, it's a foregone conclusion and must be faced. Republicans have worried. Democrats have gloated. Libertarians, independents, reformers, they've all weighed in. We must acknowledge Trump is just not capable of winning this November 3rd. I know. You're saying, Tim, how can this be? It's actually really simple. He says, Democrats have finally found their silver bullet. Russia hoax, impeachment, lockdown, evaporative economic policies, debate blowups, COVID contractions. None of this has worked. Not even Nancy Pelosi's prayers for the president's health could keep him in the hospital for more than 3 days. And he says, so no, Donald Trump just doesn't have what it takes to just win on November 3rd. Wait a minute, just win, huh? What? Because he's going to absolutely crush the election that day. A Trump landslide. Ha. And there's the joke. Thanks for bearing with me. Town Hall, very hilarious. They put out another story saying, this time Trump can't win, and it's because he's going to landslide. There's a difference. No, okay, it's the same thing. They're making a joke. Will Donald Trump landslide? And that's a bold question. Part of me seems to think it may actually be the case. And it's because I think, maybe the polls just are broken, completely broken. Look, when you tell me a poll has Trump down in Florida with Hispanic voters from where he was, but they're putting on parades for the guy. I mean, come on, dude. Trump didn't have parades from the Latino community last time. I mean, maybe he did, whatever. I don't know. I didn't see him. And I covered a ton of these Trump rallies. I was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida for a Trump rally. And I talked to a lot of people, but there were no massive parades for the man. Now, you want to come out with these polls saying Trump is doing worse than ever. Some people think the polls are an attempt to demoralize the Trump base, but they don't understand. Many of these Trump voters who went out and voted the first time are doing it to feel good. Do you know why Antifa smashes windows and romps about? Not because they have a goal in mind. It's because to them, smashing a Starbucks window feels good. Starbucks is a symbol of something they hate. And they don't know what they hate or why. They might claim to, but they really don't. They're just angry. And so they see a Starbucks and they throw a brick. And for a brief moment, it feels good. Oh, that Starbucks window. Oh, made me so angry. Well, now it's broken and we win. Of course, it solves nothing. It changes nothing. It's just a symbol. The same is true for Trump supporters. Donald Trump is a symbol, but he's a different kind of symbol. He's a symbol of somebody coming to tell the establishment to F off. And so guess what? You can smack him around. You can punch him in the gut. You can mock, belittle, and berate the Trump voters. And all it does is embolden them. Every single time you put out a poll saying they're stupid, slack-jawed yokels, they get angrier. And it makes them want to go out and vote more. It makes me want to go out and vote. I am sick of the lies. I am sick of the absurdity, of the elitism, of the condescension. And so when people go on November 3rd to vote, they will, they're going to punch that voting machine for Donald Trump. They're not just going to tap R and say, Donald Trump. I said D for Donald, but that's actually R for Republican. They're not going to walk in and say, what's this one? I guess I'll do Donald Trump. No, they're going to go in, all of that rage, and they are going to figuratively throw a brick through that window by tapping Donald Trump. And it's going to feel good. Maybe just for a moment. So Michael Moore said, the biggest FU in the history of the world. He predicted Trump's victory. And then he went on to say these people will be happy for a short while, and eventually they'll realize the mistake they made, and he was wrong about that. No, these people went in with a big FU, slammed it down, and got the best economy in generations. The best numbers of our lives, says Jim Cramer. How many generations are currently alive today? 4? So yes, in generations, the people who voted for Trump were happy they voted for Trump. And they're going to go to the voting booth again with that big old FU to the establishment, no matter what you say. And that's what they don't get. No amount of fake news stories, no amount of smears, no amount of insults. Here's what you got to understand. They say that there's high enthusiasm for Donald Trump. That's true. They say there's low enthusiasm for Joe Biden. But let me tell you the truth. There's enthusiasm for Donald Trump, and there is kind of some enthusiasm for Joe Biden. But for the left, their actual enthusiasm is against Trump. And for the right, much of their enthusiasm is to send a flying FU to the establishment. And that's it. It could be Trump. It could be anybody. So long as they're going to put the establishment in their place, even for just one brief moment, tell the establishment to screw off. That's all that matters. So I ask you, there's enthusiasm for Trump. There's enthusiasm against Trump. But have these pollsters polled enthusiasm against the machine and the establishment? No. And that's what they're not factoring in. How many people are going to go to the voting booth, they're not caring about Trump and just saying, I am sick of all of these people in Congress, every single one of them, save Rand Paul. Rand Paul's all right. He gets a free pass. Tulsi Gabbard's cool, but she's not running again. So Matt Gaetz is all right. Hawley's okay. Most of these people in Congress, everybody hates. Most of these people in government, they just don't like. And you know what? They've found their path to an FU, and it'll be the biggest. You thought 2016 was big. 2020 might be bigger. But let's be honest. I don't know what's going to happen. Trump could lose. So no, don't take my word for it. We'll see what happens. I got a couple more segments in just a few minutes. Stick around, and I will see you all shortly.